Hello and welcome to Archvalder's Hacks with Archvalder and his amazing hacks. So this video is about how to exploit the monk ability Touch of Death. Using this technique you will be able to one-shot up to 4 players. All you have to do is eat some truffles, punch a Pinata, and then anything nearby will fall down dead. Sometimes I just love the utter lunacy of Warcraft. This is one of the most surreal and demented exploits I've come up with, and trust me, that's up against some serious competition. In this video, I will be using a gnome monk for the sole purpose of making my enemies look silly by one-shotting them with a harmless looking tiny character. Touch of Death is an ability which allows the monk to kill any NPC enemy with lower health instantly. In Dragonflight, a number of talents were added which greatly enhance Touch of Death. In particular, improved Touch of Death, which allows the talent to be used on other players if they have less than 15% health, doing 35% of the monk's health in damage. And also, and this is the main focus of this video, windwalkers have a talent called Fatal Flying Guillotine. What Fatal Flying Guillotine does is allow Touch of Death to strike 4 nearby targets. I don't know what Blizzard were thinking here. This one is just asking for trouble. This is essentially a talent from Torghast that was cut and pasted into a main talent with no obvious thought involved, and it is stupidly broken. This is the rough game design equivalent of getting a toddler to throw paint at a wall. Here's the basis of this exploit. On low health NPCs, a Touch of Death can be used instantly as intended. The damage spreads to any player that is standing nearby, regardless of the health percentage of the player. I'm demonstrating this strategy here with my monk and a hunter alt in Elwyn Forest. So if you can set up or take advantage of a situation where a player is close to an NPC, you can potentially one-shot them. Now, as you can see, my monk just hit level 70 and has no gear. So the damage is only 60,000 because the monk's maximum health is quite low by the standards of most maximum level players. As you begin acquiring gear with higher and higher levels of stamina, the damage you can do increases proportionately to your health pool. My friend, the marvellous Bad Man is, whom some of you may remember from the Doll video I made a while back, volunteered to be murdered again for this video, and here you get a better impression of how effective this exploit can be, with even a day or so's worth of gearing at max level. In addition to slightly better gear, I stacked several consumables to increase my stamina temporarily and made them into a macro that you can see here. Now, fun as this is, it's a bit impractical to try and find situations where NPCs and players can be brought together like this. So I began to explore ways to do this with toys and consumables rather than low-level NPCs. Fortunately, Blizzard have created the perfect item for this purpose, the djaradin Pinata. This is a very weird item. When you use it, a Pinata appears which can be attacked. The item has 90k health, so it won't die instantly to anything other than Touch of Death, which is quite desirable. This item can be used anywhere in the Dragon Isles, in War Mode, or in unrated battlegrounds. To deploy the Pinata in combat, use the following amended macro. You can copy this macro from the description below. This will place the Pinata in front of you, use a range of effects to increase your health, and cast Touch of Death on the Pinata. This is a one-button macro. You do not have to target your enemies at all. Just make sure they are as close to you as possible when you activate the macro, so that the effects of Fatal Flying Guillotine affect them when you destroy the Pinata. There doesn't seem to be any information on the radius of Fatal Flying Guillotine, but in practice it seems to be around 8 yards, essentially normal melee range. The health increase effects I use are the wild truffle. That is a consumable that can be purchased here from the vendor in Valdrakken, which increases health by 20%. You also use fortifying brew. That's a monk talent which increases your health by another 15%. The PvP trinket Crimson Aspirant emblem, which has an on-use health effect. You can replace Crimson Aspirant emblem with any PvP trinket which increases your health. Feel free to list any health boosts you can think of that I might have missed in the comments below. Note that we aren't using any damage modifiers because they don't affect Touch of Death. We are only interested in increasing our health pool. That's the only thing that impacts the damage caused by Touch of Death. Now, it is a hell of a lot easier to use this exploit in battlegrounds because of the way PvP gear scales up in combat zones. It is relatively easy to do a whopping 300k in damage using the exploit with only honor gear, and you can acquire a full set of that in less than a day's play in Dragonflight. By far the best environment to do this in is Ashran because of the frontline fortitude buff melee players get, which doubles their health. This makes it relatively easy to kill multiple players, as you can do over 700k damage from one Touch of Death with relatively little in the way of gear. Now finally, you can get banned for PvP exploits like this if you're really obnoxious about it and you kill hundreds of people, but provided you show a reasonable amount of restraint, Blizzard will probably just ignore you. I actually worked out this method because there was a very vague report on Bug Report, the official Bug Report forum, of a monk panda who was apparently killing lots of people in Elwyn Forest. I think what he was doing was using the chickens that spawn frequently outside of the pub there to one-shot everyone. Now, there's so much more you can do with this exploit. The Pinata is limited to unrated battlegrounds and has a 15-minute cooldown, but there are other ways which work in Arena and Mythic to summon mobs. I'm not going to share that information publicly because anything which works in Arena gets hotfixed fairly quickly, so it would be pointless. However, if you look at the archives of my Patreon, and no, I'm not trolling you, that was a hint, you'll find some interesting secrets, especially for Horde players. Worth mentioning also, outside of Touch of Death, monks can exploit several other abilities in fascinating ways, especially Touch of Karma, using certain specific debuffs. Finally, there is a way to massively increase a monk's health, albeit only for a few seconds, if you want to be very ambitious and try and break the game completely.